today. Bev and Peter have got interesting stories. I don't know all the details, but they've lived all over the world, done all sorts of interesting and sometimes I think maybe risky things, but very much concerned with relating to people, helping people, sometimes in hostile environments, and always from their own convictions as practical Christians. So Bev, we welcome you in particular, and we look forward with interest as to what you're going to bring. And of course there'll be another of these sessions next week so there'll be a series of 4. And remember, when it's all over, live upstairs, and as we're chatting, ask Brian for his joke. Bev.
Let's get that mic down a little bit there. Well, welcome everybody. Now, can you all hear me? Are you all warm? You can all see the PowerPoint? All good. Good. Well, I just want to thank you for coming today, because I've thought about this quite a lot, that all of us and all of you sitting here in this room have absolutely lived your lives. I know I've heard some of your stories of where you've been and what you've done, and there's actually a lot of collective wisdom in the room here. There's a lot of wisdom in the room. So I'm just bringing my little bit, and I know, you know, over lives, and just thinking about my life, your life, we've all had tragedies, we've all had excitement, we've all had adventures, and to look at us now, people wouldn't have a clue of what we've done, what we've been through, and you're all survivors. So I want to commend you on that. You're survivors. And now I have to multitask here. I have to talk into the mic, I have to look at my notes, and I have to press a button here. So bear with, okay. And I just love this saying from Cicero a long time ago, very wise man, to live hopefully and die bravely. And I thought that's really, really, really good. And I guess part of it was in my 50s, and people were a bit horrified that I started engaging with the whole aging process. And you know, how to age well and to age gracefully. So I became really engaged in courses, reading up stuff. I trained as a counselor, I became a spiritual companion. So all of that was kind of part of the background to standing here today, I guess. And just to start, we need a joke, okay? But there was this grandfather, and his grandson invited him to dinner. So, you know, it's such a thrill, you know, your grandchildren have grown up and they've got their own places and they invite you over. So off he went, and lo and behold, when he arrived at the flat, there was a young woman there. And so he could see they were quite affectionate, you know, during the evening. And so he checked with his grandson, oh, you know, is this somebody special in your life? You know, what sort of relationship you have? Oh, no, she's just a flatmate, So they had their soup and they had their dinner, and he went off home very happy with, you know, the way things had gone and meeting this new flatmate. So about a week later, his grandson rings up, and Granddad, have you seen you know, we had soup when you came to visit. You wouldn't know where the soup ladle is, would you? You know, we just can't find it anywhere. He said, oh, well, if she was sleeping in her own bed, you'd know where the soup ladle was. And just to begin, I'd just like to say a short prayer. Let's just pray. Lord of the universe, creator of all things, from galaxies to dormice. Be with us this morning, love us, and enlighten us, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen. And to begin, I just want to read a poem. I'm finding as I've got much older, I really find poetry very meaningful and speaks to me in a special way. And this is called I Want to Age Like Sea Glass by Bernadette Knoll. I want to age like sea glass, smoothed by tides, not broken. I want the currents of life to toss me around, shake me up, and leave me feeling washed clean. I want my hard edges to soften as the years pass, made not weak but supple. I want to ride the waves, go with the flow, feel the impact of the surging tides rolling in and out. When I'm thrown against the shore and caught between the rocks, I want to rest there until I can find the strength to do what is next. Not stuck, just waiting, pondering, feeling what it feels like to pause. And when I'm ready, I will catch a wave and let it carry me along to the next place that I'm supposed to be. I want to age like sea glass. When people see the old woman I've become, they'll embrace all that I am. They'll marvel at my exquisite nature, hold me gently in their hands, and be awed by my well-earned patina, not the flashy nor dull, but just the right luster. And we'll both feel lucky to realize once again that we have landed in the perfectly right place at just the right moment. I want to age like sea glass. I want to enjoy the journey and let my preciousness be. Not in spite of the impacts of life, but because of them. Now, let me get the right page. And so, as we age, it's very uncertain. We've not been on this journey before. We actually don't know what's going to be happening next week. We really don't. So we need some tools in our toolkit. If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's not very effective. So number one in our So the only way out is through. There's no detour, there's no avoiding it. That the aging process is something that we just go through. And, oops. Like all transitions in life, and being born is quite a tricky process, it's quite messy, it's not predictable. And we get to the end of our lives and suddenly, whoops, here we find ourselves in another major life transition that we can't avoid, that we just have to go through it. And we've lived our lives. And then finally we get to aging and death. And it's just a fact of life. And as my dad said, he would say this lovely old Hebrew saying, we get too soon old and too late wise. And that's so true of life. But it's just, accepting the journey. To honestly accept the journey. And it's, the physical diminishment. And we see that as a new learning curve. Everything in life is a learning curve. And I really had to think about this. Last year we did a course covering all these points. And I had to think about this. This is a learning place for me. I need to learn about what's happening for me, what's happening around me, and pay attention to it. And find out about it. Find out, be educated. There's so much at our fingertips now that we can TED Talks, YouTubes, all sorts of things that we can just tap into. I mean, we're living in this fantastic generation where we can tap into all this sort of information. And it's being kind to ourselves, being kind. And what happens if we deny the process that's happening? It can actually harden us, hardens our hearts. We can become bitter, and we can become, crabby and grumpy because we don't want this thing to be happening to us. Our joints are going, our eyesight's going, hearing's going. We're losing stuff all the time, often on a weekly basis. And as somebody said, aging is a bugger, but it comes to us all. And that's just the way it is.
But some people don't age, dear. Some people die young.
They do, but we're all in this kind of domain at the moment. So just to, keep facing forward, not looking back, It's so easy to want to look back and long for what was behind. But we keep our eyes facing forward, and we have this gently yielded heart, just soften that heart, soften it towards yourself, soften it to those around you, soften it to the process that we're going through. And then we need to integrate what's happening. As a child, when we went to school and we started learning our ABCs, our 1 to numbers and all those things, we integrated that into us. And so as we age and we're finding out about ourselves and finding out what we can do, we integrate that into a new learning for ourselves. It's a new phase of learning. And this is really, really important, that we monitor what's happening to our bodies. And that we take notice of what our physical changes are. Often we want to deny actually what's happening to us. But thinking about it, okay, do I need to stop? Do I need to take a rest? Am I walking too far? Is that going to make my knee play up? Is it going to make my back play up? And just intelligently, having agency, making good choices. And don't push beyond the limits of what you can responsibly maintain. This is a big one, because we go through the phase where I'm just going to do this. I can do this. And it's not what we can actually responsibly maintain, and we push beyond what we're actually capable of. And I love this saying by Mahatma Gandhi, there's more to life than increasing speed. And we learn to stroll, not stride. And this has been a big one for me, because you watch Mika. What's she doing? She's striding about the place. And when we were young and her age, we strode about the place and we did all these things. We got organized, And it was funny because earlier I went over there to shut the curtain and I almost got into stride. I'm like, yep, I'm going to go and close those curtains. It's like, take a breath, slow down, stroll. Just stroll. If you have a walker, it's quite good. That forces you to stroll. But the rest of us, it's actually a very conscious thing. How often do we just get up and, I'm going here, going there, going to do this, going to do that. And it's much better for us. We just learn to stroll, not to stride. Oops, let's just go back here. And you can give a little rerun there. There's a recap happening for you. and this is really important. This was a big learning for us last year, especially with this thing, I'm just going to do this. And we have that kind of bit of a bloody-minded attitude, regardless of what my body is saying. I'm going to totally ignore what my body is saying, and I'm just going to do this. Unfortunately, after the fact, when we get home, we don't feel so good. Often we just have to take a little lie down. Why am I feeling so shabby? Well, we're feeling so shabby because we actually overdo it, and we shouldn't have. We should have been a little bit wiser about making the choices that we should have made. And the other thing that sets in brain fog. Anybody get brain fog? Yeah, I'm not the only one. When I overexert, do too much, my brain gets filled with stuff, and suddenly, whoa, cotton wool, I need to back off. Just step back, take a rest, look at the view, do what I need to do to just calm myself down. And just to have realistic expectations on those around us and ourselves. Just bring those expectations down. And don't compare, especially if you're in a relationship with somebody. Or I know the energized bunnies who are in a village here. We know who the energized bunnies are. And oh my goodness, well, I'm younger than her, but I can't do a quarter of the stuff. Don't do it. We're all in different phases and different spaces. And, there's the extroverts, there's our extroverts. He's cheerful and off and involved in everything. And partner is at home, hiding away under a blanket and having a big rest. I won't tell you which couple that is. Sometimes the roles are reversed. And the change happens, and the extrovert is lying on the couch. Oh, I feel terrible. I've been doing too much.
It's pretty obvious who you're talking about.
So just be aware of your personality type and who you are. That's the other thing. Cater to, if you're an introvert, that's fine. I'm an introvert. I need time on my own. Peter's not. So just, be aware of we all have pasts of roles that we've played and things that we've done. Now the essence of who we are is still the same, but some of those roles have diminished, they've gone, but we want to hang on to them. We want to hang on to those personas and, still try and be that person that we were. But every day we're becoming a new person, we're changing, I'm not the same person that I was when I was 25. Now I'm in my late 70s, and so I need to, be aware of that I'm no longer that 25-year-old and I can't run around doing stuff and I don't want to. I don't want to be that person either. And maintain your body in good working order, okay? Get the hip replaced, get the skin thing cut out, get your teeth fixed, do what you can. There are things we can actually do in the aging process, so we do what we can. And we hopefully don't wait too long for the joint replacements, depending on whether you're on some extensive list somewhere at the public hospital, because the longer we wait for those things, especially when big anesthetics are involved, anesthetics can play havoc with our functioning, our brain functioning as we age. So sooner rather than later, if that's possible, to do that. And don't waste energy trying to reverse the process, okay? I mean, take your vitamin D, vitamin B, or whatever. Fortunately, we don't live in America where this has become a huge thing. where people are trying to reverse the process with all sorts of fancy new fandangled ideas. That's happening. That's happening. Do what we can and keep moving on. This is a big one that we try and we, want to get that rush. Oh, I can remember this, like, okay, I'm just going to go for a bike ride today, and I'm going for a really long bike ride, and get on the bike, and I feel great. This is my old self again, and getting home and feeling like complete rubbish, And so, we honor who we were. We honor that, we respect that, we kind of look back and honor that, but leave it there, leave it in the past. This is part of the looking forward. And, so often this is when, we're going to play tennis again, we pick up the racket, you feel it in your hand, and like, this is who I used to be. Or you pick up the spade, oh yeah. And then what you do is you dig over the garden, and now I'm going to Bunnings, and I'm going to buy the plants, and I'm going to buy the compost. I'm going to come home, I'm going to do the compost, I'm going to plant the plants. You can't do that all in one day anymore. So we just, don't force the fit. Don't force the fit. It can hinder us as we become older. It can stop us becoming that finally lusted person that people want to be around. And I had to put this in because this was taken in his late 60s, trying to promote an image of the strong leader, the cassock who's out on the plains on his horse and looking all muscly. Well, even he couldn't stop the aging process. And what did he do? Started a war with Ukraine. Now that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. And we'll find out in our lives, we start doing things we shouldn't be doing because we're trying to fight this battle of something we can't control. So let's not be like Putin. And become familiar with, these internal rhythms, the softer rhythms of life. They're not pushing ourselves. And this is where beauty and music becomes much more meaningful, much more calming for us. I watch the sunrise every day, and I absolutely love that. It gives me such a kick. And I sit there and the sun just peeps over the horizon, and it always brings a smile to my face. And I think, that sun has been rising over the Bay of Plenty for thousands of years. And the birds have sung every morning for thousands of years. And so what trials and tribulations I'm facing today are in the context of a very big picture that I believe God is in control of. So, find those beautiful little moments, something, even a flower, to just stop and look at and feel the joy of that. And, the things that we've incorporated into our lives now that are all science-based, soothing for our bodies, soothing for our brains. We found out about how our brains function. We found out about vagus nerve. What is the vagus nerve? How does it function? And so there's mindfulness, contemplation, meditation. All these things can create calm for our brains, calm for our bodies. It's looking at our emotional hygiene. And one of the things we do for our emotional hygiene, I do, is tapping every day. And this is a science-based calming thing that we can do, where we tap on certain points and listen to a meditation, and it just calms me down, sets me up for the day, that I'm not starting with a nervous system that's up here and it's going to be easily triggered. I'm starting with a nervous system that's down here, and I can handle what happens, the stresses that happen during the day. And, keeping we talk a lot about gut health and all the rest of it. That's very popular at the moment. What's your gut like? Well, what's your brain health like? That's really, really important. Take care of your brain. And especially if you're a caregiver, you need to be extra cautious about your brain care and your brain health. And, watch something funny on YouTube. We do that a lot. Oh, I'm feeling a bit down. Okay, let's find something funny and have a laugh. Very hard, good like a medicine. The other thing I watch is slow TV. Anybody heard of slow TV? Oh, you're going to have to do some research on vagus nerves and slow TV and tapping. All these things are available. You just type it into Google and you'll get the answers. And when you do stuff, do it in moderation. Have a joy journal. Have a gratitude journal. Those two things are especially good for our brain health and our emotional health. Just writing down 3 things a day that we are grateful for can really, really be helpful. It actually rewires our brain, which is really, really important, to start rewiring our brain. And that's another thing, is brain plasticity, which is such a gift we have, that our brains are not fixed. I mean, if people have dementia or some of those things, there is a deterioration happen. But for most of us, we have brain plasticity, so that our brains can be slowly changed. And writing a gratitude journal begins to rewire our brains and put us in a more positive frame of mind. We are all very negatively biased, and we love the negative. We'll always go to the negative. And we need to start looking at the positive. And the gratitude journal is very good at that, bringing a positive attitude into our lives. And I just love this saying, the greatest challenge to being alive is to witness injustice in our world and not allow it to consume our light. Because we are bombarded with bad news. Honestly, we are. We're bombarded with, even here in the village, somebody gets sick, somebody's not well, the ambulances come. Then we watch the news, and it diminishes our light. It really does. It can be very draining. It's not life-giving. And so we need to know what's going on in the world. But we stopped watching the news about 5 years ago. We actually stopped watching the news. It was the best thing we ever did for our well-being. Because not only when you watch the news are you hearing it, you're seeing it in 3D color. And that is activating all sorts of things inside of you. Adrenaline, cortisol, your blood pressure will go up. Your whole body is under stress when you are actually sitting watching the news. And do we keep up with the news? Of course we do. I have an app on my phone. I've got BBC, I've got Radio New Zealand. Listen to the news. Go back to what our moms and dads used to do. They would just listen to the news. And it does, then what's going on, but it doesn't have that same impact of stirring up all these nasty things that we don't actually be needing at the end of the day. 6 o'clock, we activating cortisol, adrenaline, high blood pressure. It's not a very common way to be coming into the end of the day. And the other thing is, when we see all these dramas happening in the world, find somewhere where you can give something towards them. That is hugely beneficial to our inner well-being. You know, we had this young woman came to talk last week about Ukraine. Just to, it was horrible hearing about what's happening. But, I can give $20 or $30. And immediately you're going to feel better about it. You've contributed to what this awfulness is. They benefiting because you're giving something. So it's a win-win situation. And it's really time where we begin to, focus on things like loving kindness, compassion, joy, equanimity. I absolutely love that word, equanimity. It's being able to respond when things happen, not react. Often we just, I do it, trust me. I have those reactions, but I'm getting a bit better at it to respond to what's happening around us. And, for the compassion thing, something, especially I think as Christians, we don't talk about a lot, is self-compassion. Self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. We're never given permission. We're always running around being kind to everybody else and doing the right thing for everybody else. But the time comes where we really, really need to have, that self-compassion, being kind to yourself. And, especially I think as women, we spend our lives putting everybody first. We're always putting everybody else first. So to take that role, I'm going to put myself first, can be really, really difficult. But it's really, really important that we able to begin to learn how to do that. And also it's a time of decluttering in our lives. We declutter not only physically, but emotionally and mentally. We declutter, do a good clear out. I don't know if you've heard of the Swedish death cleaning. It's such a lovely tradition in Sweden where the older people do their death, they call it death cleaning, where they clear out the house. So the kids don't have to come in and do it. I mean, we've watched around our place, tired adult children, exhausted, clearing out stuff from however long ago. I mean, I looked in my cupboard this morning, I thought, well, if I drop dead today, my kids are not going to be impressed with me. But so it's a good thing. We honor what we did, we take photos of things that were precious, give them away to somebody in the family, give them to the op shop. Our kids, somebody said to me the other day, we don't have time to look through all these photos or look through all these slides. They're just going in the tip. Well, we can do that. It's a little bit more difficult for us to do it, but don't leave it for your kids to do. They won't love you for it. And it's also a time of dealing with regrets. We have to face some of the failures in our lives, some of the mistakes. And often we've done quite a lot of apologizing to our kids. I'm sorry, I didn't know any better, I did that, it hurt you, I'm sorry. And to be able to just have the courage to do that, to say you're sorry for the mistakes you made. None of us are perfect. Our kids have been so loving and so accepting and so appreciative of us being able to look them in the eye and say, I regret that, I'm sorry. And set things right with them. Really, really important. And write the letters, say the words. Don't wait. Don't wait. If you want to affirm one of your kids, want to affirm a family member, affirm your partner, say the words, be positive, give affirmations, and tell them the good things that they've done. Tell them what you appreciate about them. They'll appreciate you, and you get a kick out of it as well. So, yeah. This is really important to, pay attention to what people are mirroring back to you, especially your kids, okay? Note any discrepancies between how you think you are doing and the responses you are getting. Listen to your spouse and family. Now, if your spouse starts throwing things in the dishwasher with a very loud clatter, listen. There's a problem in the house, okay? It may not be verbal. And be brave to ask for feedback. You know, ask for feedback. How am I doing? You know, how am I coming over? And notice when people are taking the slack for you. You know, often other people will start picking up the slack for you when you're not functioning that well. And that's fine, but don't take advantage of it. And be aware, like, oh, I'm not doing that as well as I thought I was doing it. And putting pressure on someone else, and stress for someone else. Especially for our kids. Especially for our kids. I mean, we've all moved in here, which is such a good thing. That immediately takes a whole lot of pressure off our kids because we've been proactive and we've made a good choice to come here and relieving them of the hard conversations and the difficult things. That one. So, you know, have a think. Be courageous. Ask. You know, often we're very self-referential. I'm doing fine, I'm okay, it's all okay. Ask your kids, how do you think I'm doing? Do you notice anything that I need to be picking up on? Get some of that outside input into yourself to get a realistic view of how you actually are doing physically, mentally, emotionally. And be alert to the new things that are happening. You know, there are new things happening and there are new things we can take on board. I've joined the choir with Mari. Have I sung in a choir before? No. Can I read music? Not very well. But boy, do I enjoy coming down to singing, and Mari is great, you know. I'm learning a new skill. I'm participating in something that brings me joy. And it takes a bit of courage to do that, but, you know, and I've taken up embroidery. I'm not very good at it. I bought a harp from Pip. Am I very good at it? Well, I haven't practiced for a few weeks now because I've been preparing for this. But, you know, I want to try new things. Give something a go. I think one person here that they actually, took a painting. And there's pickleball this afternoon. So if you never played pickleball, go and play pickleball this afternoon. And it's that whole thing of, you know, we're not looking at youth, but we're looking at being vitality. Being. Who are we becoming? Who are we being as a person? And that inside work. And that being vitality will shine out. It doesn't matter how we're looking or how awful we are. I can remember going to see Joan Bryant, and boy, the smile on her face and the sparkle in her eye. That being vitality was there on every visit, you know, the smile. And so it doesn't matter, you know, she couldn't walk, but she could shine. And that's what we really want to be doing. And we're more than our outer body as well. It's a time for our inner body. It's time for looking at perhaps spiritual things, going back to, you know, sometimes longings begin to arise in us of when we were a kid and went to Sunday school or whatever it is, but to focus on, you know, the inner part of our bodies and the inner world that we carry. And I just wanted to say this about, so often we have an opinion of God based on how people have been in our lives. And, you know, we want to turn our back on God because of people in the church, my parents, or whatever it is. And we're just like, I don't want anything to do with God. because of how we've been treated or how we've seen other people acting. And it's really important to just, I love the script. Jesus said, look at me, look at me. If you see me, you know what God is like. And that's so, so important. And so that's a good reminder just to look at how was Jesus? How did he function? How did he move around in the world? How did he treat people? And base our view of God on that, and not on perceptions of letdowns from people around us. So aging well is not what the ads and the media tell us. Successful aging is not looking like you are 35 again, or being able to climb a mountain, or doing yoga on a paddleboard at sunrise while writing your memoirs. Okay? It's more about hoping your knee doesn't click when you get up. And it's about adaptability and resilience. It's not about the latest diagnosis or the latest medical test or the medication. So often we can get overwhelmed, so going to the doctor so frequently and getting these tests done. And yes, that's part of it, but it's not the whole story at all. And if there's few things that you can do, if you can tick some of these boxes, you're doing really well. And I've just had to reframe the way I think about when people ask me how I'm doing. Oh, well, I'm putting one foot in front of the other. Oh, well, I'm still breathing. And then I looked at this list of things. I thought, I'm doing really well, thank you. And a much more positive outlook for that. So if you can do even some of these, get up independently from a bed or a chair. Might be a struggle, might be slow. Recover from setbacks and losses. Adapt to constant change. Manage your own medications. Stay socially connected. Be curious and engaged. And maintain a perspective and laugh at these sometimes awful things that are happening to us. And the losses that we have, sometimes we just have to laugh because what else can you do? It's gone. It's gone. And so if you can tick any of those boxes, you're all doing way better than you thought you were. You really are. Look at you. You're all here today. You've all got up. You've all got dressed. You're here. You're listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And perhaps if you like the one grandmother, her little grandson said to her, Nana, how old are you? And she looked a bit puzzled, and she was obviously trying to work out, you forget. How old am I actually? And very compassionately, he looked at her and he said, Nana, don't worry. You can do just what I do. I look at the label in my underpants and it says 4 to 6. So be encouraged. Be encouraged. And so let evening come. Let evening come. This beautiful time of our lives. Actually, evening is such a beautiful time. I said we watch the sunrise. Often I'll watch the sunset, and it's different, and it's beautiful. And so let evening come. Let the light of late afternoon shine through the chinks in the barn, moving up the bales as the sun moves down. Let the cricket take up chafing as a woman takes up her needles and her yarn. Let evening come. Let dew collect on the hoe abandoned in long grass. Let the stars appear and the moon disclose her silver horn. Let the fox go back to its sandy den. Let the wind die down. Let the shed go black inside. Let evening come. To the bottle in the ditch, to the scoop in the oats, to air in the lung, let evening come. Let it come as it will, and don't be afraid. God does not leave us comfortless, so let evening come. Thank you.